All right, what is up, AMPlify Podcast listeners? First off, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the last episode, and like I said, we're going to be doing it this week again. So every week we're going to have a new guest. This week, though, we got Jesse Jewel Thomas, and if you're watching the video, you're probably thinking, my damn, this dude's pretty swole. If you are just listening, this dude has a really inspirational, cool story, and I actually listened to another podcast he was on YouTube, and I work with him here at the gym, but man, I can't wait to have him dive in and share his story. So Jesse, thank you first off for coming on.
Appreciate it, man.
Why don't you just give everyone a background? You're a trainer right now, you train athletes, people want to lose weight, build muscle. Just give people a background of what you've done in the past and how you've gotten to this point now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as training, I guess you can say kind of that goes back to college. So I got my degree with the concentration of sports management. So it was a physical education major with a business minor. In doing that, I had to get a couple internships. So I started at Athletic Republic, which is probably the leading franchise, I think, in the U.S. as far as speed and agility go. So I started there being an athlete, playing college football, playing a ton of other sports. Like, it was my passion for speed and agility and just kind of athletic performance. So I kind of just, that's where it kind of took off. And then I always had a dream of owning my own gym and being a personal trainer and doing that. So by my senior year, I took another elective that my college just picked up, which was personal training, and that's when I, got my certification back in 2009. So I've been training for a while now.
Yeah.
I came straight out of college. I got hired full time with Athletic Republic and did that for a while. I mean, that's kind of where I started the whole fitness journey, I guess you can say.
I gotcha. So how old are you right now?
Right now I'm 32.
32 years old. Now, so when you got out of college, as far as I know, you played, and I might mess up the sequence here, but you went and played arena football.
I did.
Where did that come in? Because at that time, you were also working somewhere. It sounded like you were on a grind in that phase of your life, driving a far way to go play. But explain that realm and how that even came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I trained for a few years when I got fresh out of college. And I guess you could even say, like, going into my senior year of football, I tore my ACL. So I had the opportunity to, or the option, I guess you could say, from my coaching staff to either go ahead and take your last couple credits online, get your degree, and move on with life, or take the year off and come back to school and play ball. So then Athletic Republic, they hired me on full time. I took the year off. I came back for my senior year, play football. So I just did that semester. After I did that, I went back to training. And then shortly after that, about a year into training again, found out that my wife was going to be pregnant with twins.
Oh, yeah.
So, it just kind of shook me up, shook my world up for a second. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I didn't feel like I could support a full, a big family with just personal training. So then I got a job with Enterprise, rent-a-car, I should say. So,
yeah,
man, I was grinding like 60 hours a week. Just, it was miserable. Let me tell you, it was, had no passion for what I was doing, but I felt like I could climb my way up the ladder in that business, which I did. I worked for them for 8 years, but that first couple of years, that first year with them, I got completely out of shape. Like, I was working 60 hours a week. Rain, sleet, and shine, working at the KCI airport. It never closes. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. So then, I kind of had a gut punch, long story short, and was like, I got to get my butt back in shape. And once I started doing that, I had some friends who were playing arena ball in the area for the Kansas City Brigade. And then, they encouraged me to come out. So I went out, man, and because of work that time around, I wasn't able to make it through the season. Wasn't very good. But the following season, the same guys, they got traded to a team in Salina, Kansas, which is about 3 hours away. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it this time, which was crazy because I was still working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, 2 days a week they practice, and then the games were on the weekend. So basically, after work, I would cut out of work a little bit early, and I would drive 3 hours to Salina to go to practice for 2, and then drive back home. I get home around midnight 1, and go back to work.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you said 8 years though. That's a long time to be with a company.
Yeah.
And here's what also like comes to my mind too. you hadn't played football for, what, 8 years in that time frame of taking off when you got out of shape?
No, so the football was maybe about 2 years out of college. That was early on. So I was probably out of ball for about 2 years when I went back to playing arena.
Okay, well, still, even though like 2 years, like if you haven't played football, you wouldn't understand. And there's a lot of sports similar, but something like golf, there's people who become professional golfers at the age of 45. But I always was thinking about when I stopped playing football, man, am I ever going to go back and play? And yeah, even after 2 years go by, I was thinking, I don't think my body would handle that well. Like how, for anyone who has taken that amount of time off from a sport as physical, demanding as football, what was that like going back into that such of a contact sport?
It was tough, no doubt. It was tough. But, you know, I was already, again, kind of like kicking my butt to get back into shape because I had got so far out of it. Maybe about 40 pounds overweight than I usually was, just again working terrible work hours, eating, you know, I had a shift at the airport that was like a night, mid, and day shift. So you would work like 3 days on for 13 hours straight, and then you go to nights for 2 nights, and then you have 2 days off, and then you go back to, you know, 4 a.m.s in the morning. So it was really bad. I got really out of shape. So I had spent some time training, and, you know, my passion again, and my background was in speed and agility and sports performance training. So that's what I was doing to get myself back in shape. So when I actually got back on the field, other than just kind of maybe a little intimidation factor, like, man, like, it's been a while since I've been out here. These guys are fresh out of college, or these guys are professionals. They've been doing it for a while. Can I really hang with them? Once I kind of shook those cobwebs off, I was money again.
Yeah.
Now there's no way.
Yeah.
Like I still think about it to myself, like, man, can I still do it? But no, you just slow down too much. That game's too fast.
So that was about 2 years playing arena football?
Yeah.
2 years. After that, what happened? Were you still working with the Enterprise?
Yeah. So again, that was in my earlier days with Enterprise, around my second and third year with Enterprise.
Okay, I gotcha.
So yeah, that basically I just had to really come to Jesus moment and be like, man, like, it's time to hang the shoes up, trying to hang the cleats up. You know, I just always had that passion to be a professional athlete and play something. Obviously, the NFL wasn't a shot, so, you know, I wanted to make arena happen. And once I was able to do it, I was like, that was kind of like a check mark. And it was like, you know, is it worth driving 3 hours, you know, 3 days a week and, you know, after late nights of work? So I just said no, and then I just started to kind of take the corporate work more serious and try to really, like I said, climb that ladder. So I worked with Enterprise, you know, I just hung it up after that for a while.
So after the football, what was your next like endeavor that you wanted to explore? Because I know there was a couple more coming up.
So I am someone who is just constantly looking for something to motivate me and drive me and this and that. And one day I was watching TV and I came across American Ninja Warrior. And, you know, just watching the show, I'm like, I can do that. Like, piece of cake. Like, you know, as a kid, I used to play like hot lava, like don't touch the floor and climb on the monkey bars and all of that stuff. So I figured it, again, be a piece of cake. So somewhere, you know, Facebook or Instagram, something, I seen some scroll about a new gym that was coming to our area, our town, that was going to offer American Ninja Warrior like classes and have obstacles and stuff. So one day I just decided, I grabbed one of my buddies, was like, hey, let's go out here and let's check this place out. And I went out and they had those, the nunchucks. Some of you seen, like, just basically a wooden chuck here, and you're supposed to swing from chuck to chuck. I couldn't swing from chuck to chuck. At that point, I was around football weight, so I was probably about 215 or so. And I just, for the life of me, I could not do it. But you got all these, you know, skinnier guys and the instructor like making it look graceful. And I'm like, I'm an athlete. There's no reason why I shouldn't be doing it. So I guess for my lack of not being able to do it, it inspired me to do it. So I don't know, I took it on full head of steam, man. And I did that for like the next 3 years. I was like, I'm gonna make this happen.
And you dropped quite a bit of weight for that, didn't you?
I did. So again, when I started, I was about 215, around 210, 215. And I dropped down to 269 was my lowest. So about 40 pounds to really try to compete. I competed at a bunch of local shows. I went to Minnesota and St. Louis and Arkansas, a bunch of different places and competed. And it's fun. It's a good community. And I competed on the actual NBC show twice.
So how do you manage all that? Like, how do you have time for that and still give it all your efforts with working your crazy hours, coming home to twins and a wife? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, man, it's a lot, but it's my passion. Like whenever I'm in a sport or I'm doing something, like that's my passion at the moment. Like anybody probably has a hobby or something like that. I just have to devote what little free time I have to that. And luckily, you know, my wife is very supportive and she understands that. It's kind of like lifting weights for me now. It's like, you know, yes, I may sacrifice an hour or so at the gym after I get off of work, but it's what makes me happy. So you want me to come home and be unhappy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or would you just rather me gone for one more hour to get my workout in, something that is positive, you know, it's going to make me healthy and make me happy. And then the rest of my free time is with my family. So that's kind of how I do it.
I always say that too. Like, I'm a big believer. You got to be selfish before you can be selfless type thing. And I couldn't imagine not having someone, because my girlfriend's very supportive too,
right,
who is not, understands like what that does to you and your mental health and just that's who you are. You know, it's your DNA. You have to do that. Not everyone has that thing that is their getaway, but it's so important, I think.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't be with somebody who didn't understand just what work.
Oh, for sure. So after that, after Ninja Warrior, you met some dude at a gym who was whipping ass, right? Like something along those lines, right? So just explain that. I think this is funny too.
Yeah, no problem. So the gym that I was going to is called Chaos Course. It's out in Belton, Missouri.
Yeah.
So it originally started as a karate dojo. The two owners, Liz and Russ Babcock, they are like Hall of Fame karate, like I don't even know the word, karate.
Black belts.
Yeah. So I guess they're in like the Kansas Hall of Fame for karate or something like that. I didn't even know there was one until the day. So there was another instructor who would come in and he would teach like grappling and some other stuff. And I was in there one day and he was like, hey, like, I see you doing American Ninja Warrior stuff, but like, he was like, do you understand who these two people are who own the gym? Do you know how like advanced they are at what they do in the karate world? And I'm like, no. So that's when he kind of like tells me about their Hall of Fame status and how many wars they've won and all of that. And he was like, you should, you know, ask them to teach you a few things while you have them. Like, that's just, why not learn from the best?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, like, sure, I'll ask them about it. So I went to the owner, Russ, and I was telling him like, hey man, like, you know, I hear that like you're one of the top, you know, martial arts guys around the state. Like, can you teach me some things? And he was like, sure, like show up Saturday. Like, show up Saturday. I'm getting a group of guys together anyway. You know, I think it's our first week. I think it'll be fun for you. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I show up on a Saturday thinking that I'm about to learn karate, right? Earn a couple, you know, belts and, you know, just kick the air and stuff like that. Well, these dudes were getting ready to train for an MMA fight, a mixed martial art fight. So I was like, well, I'm already here, so, you know, let's do it.
Well,
let's do it. So that's how I got involved in the world of MMA, man. It was just it was by accident.
Yeah. How long were you in that world for?
Just about a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
I trained with them for about a solid year, maybe a little bit more, year and a couple months, and then learned as much as I could because we just had like a small group of maybe like 6 or 7 guys who would show up. And it was fun and exciting, and I was brand new to it. So, you know, I had no wrestling background. When I was a younger kid, I used to box. So the boxing part kind of came a little bit more natural than the grappling and all that stuff. So I learned a lot of, you know, arm bars and stuff like that. But, you know, there wasn't, I guess you could say, just enough competition or enough guys who would actually be in my weight class in our group and stuff like that. So I kept hearing about this gym in Lee Summit where I live called Glory, and everybody's saying, you know, top gym in the Midwest, top gym in Missouri for sure, hands down. And it's ran by a UFC fighter. So I went and checked them out, and I trained at their gym for about 4 months until I fractured my foot. At practice, just sparring a guy. And that took me out of it. He was a big guy. He won that battle.
Yeah. So what's the difference between MMA and football?
Man, MMA, there is nothing like it. I love football. I love the team aspect. I love the glory. I love scoring touchdowns. Like, it feels good. But I've never had anything so exhilarating than MMA. Like, every second you're at it, you feel like you're working to save your life, right? You know that the other guy is trying to harm you. He is trying to hurt you. So you're doing everything in your willpower to not get hurt or to do the same to him. So you don't have a down moment. Like, you cannot ever let your guard down. You can never not hustle. You know what I mean? Like, there's 11 guys on the field with you in football. So, if I know it's a pass play, and it's the fourth quarter and I'm tired as hell, there's probably been times where, I didn't go up to that line and block the hardest I could. You know what I mean? I counted on my linemen to do it. In MMA, you don't have time. It can be fourth quarter, but you cannot put your guard down. You will get hurt.
You'll lose fast too.
Exactly.
You'll lose fast. I always have this conversation with people, and you watch MMA too.
Yeah.
I'm an MMA fan. I'm not a diehard fan. I don't know everyone who's in each class. But what do you think about this? Like, I always talk about, you take some of these NFL players, like, just a lot of NFL players, some NBA players are like the top elite athletes that are bred in the United States, probably in the world.
Yeah.
What if you took someone like prime Calvin Johnson, Von Miller, these just crazy freaks, and put them in MMA? How much would a crazy just athletic ability and structure like that translate to MMA? Because, I think there's a fine line of having that mental aspect. It's a lot of skill, but just that raw, just athletic gift that they have.
It would take them a long way. It would take them far. It would. At the end of the day, it wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. And I think that was the thing with me. Like, I was able to hang with a lot of good guys, a lot of experienced guys, because of my athletic ability. I was very strong, pound for pound, maybe the strongest guy. Like, when I went up against somebody in my weight class, I would be typically the stronger one. If I hit you, it's gonna hurt. But my lack of experience in grappling and wrestling and getting on the floor, I don't think I would have been. It would take me 10 plus years to develop those skills to be an excellent MMA fighter. So those guys, raw, they would be able to keep up for a while. But at some point, just the lack of experience. Like, I think if you grew up wrestling as a kid and you have that experience going into MMA, you have a leg up. There's no question about it. Whether you're an athlete or not, there was little guys who were 30 pounds lighter than me who could pin me down and keep me down because they knew leverage. They knew how to stay on top of you. They knew how to, just move their body. When I would try to get up and shift, they knew where to shift and go. And they could be less athletic. They were just smart and they were experienced. So you got to have a lot of that in MMA, believe it or not. So
in what scenario would you recommend someone to try it? Because even myself in college, when I was like, man, I want to do something that's a mono sport. Yeah. I always I regret not wrestling in college or in high school because so many people told me I should, and especially when I stopped playing basketball, I was just lifting or training for baseball in the off season or upcoming football season. But in what scenario would you tell someone like around our age, hey, yeah, go ahead and try it? Because there's pros and cons, and I feel like a lot of cons as far as injury and are you really going to make it, how far outweighs the pros. But
yeah. I mean, I think it just depends on, again, how realistic they are with it. Like, you don't want to start too late if you're planning on, if you, in your mind, you're like, hey, I want to be a UFC fighter, then you probably need to be, like I said, pretty young. You want that wrestling experience. You got to get that down. Yeah. And that takes years and years of development. So if you're in your early teens, if you're in your early teens, teenager, this and that, maybe even later, 17, 18, like, go ahead and give it a shot. Now, if you're someone who's just looking for some adrenaline, looking to get in shape for that matter, go to a certified gym, a place where they have experienced trainers, and do it. Like, you don't have to necessarily step in the octagon, but again, I mean, just practicing is thrilling. It's thrilling. You know, you got head gear on, this and that, when you got the stand-up game going, and, you know, it's a safe environment. Yeah, you can get hurt. I got hurt. I fractured my foot, but that's just part of life. You know, you can get hurt walking across the street.
Yeah.
You know, anything can happen. So, yeah. I'd say that, you know, if you want to try it out, always, at whatever age, don't be afraid to, you know, give it a shot. Now, the older you are, you got to be more realistic. Like, this ain't, you know, profession. You know. So
the MMA is growing like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking, like, would you let your kids take part in it?
I would. You know, and I've been thinking about that. My boys, again, I watch it a lot. So as a result, they'll be around the house. They'll see me watching and watch it and want to start wrestling each other, or, you know, ask me if they could do it, this and that. And I would. Again, I coach football, and, you know, nowadays I have parents too who talk about, like, oh, it's too dangerous and that. But again, I'm of the theory that you can get hurt doing anything. So why not enjoy life and do it, as long as they're with instructors that I trust and believe are doing the right things and preventing, you know, trying to prevent them to get hurt as much as possible. Yeah. Fine. But and when they step in the octagon, that's
the sport. Yeah. It's like, dude, some of those dudes who are really skillful, it's a skill you learn, then you're a walking weapon. Like, that's actually a good skill to have.
It is.
And it's crazy. Have you seen, there's a new league, actually I don't know if it's new, but it's growing in popularity, and I think YouTube's the main streamer of it, but it's bare knuckle boxing.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't have any gloves on.
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me, because you go from traditional boxing, those gloves weigh what, like 6 to 10 ounces?
Yep.
MMA is what?
About
like
two. Yeah.
And then bare knuckle is just, people don't understand, like, the difference that makes.
Oh, yeah.
That is crazy.
Those guys are crazy.
where do you think the MMA is going, though? Because, like, it's grown like crazy. Even just the last 4 or 5 years since Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, like, those two really put it on a pedestal.
Right.
Before that, who was it? Like Brock Lesnar? He was.
Yeah. He made it really high. I mean, it's definitely grown, and like you said, I think Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor, their stardom took it to another level.
Yeah.
Took it to another level. And they're the only ones that are getting serious money, getting paid like that. But I don't think it's going anywhere. You know, I think it kind of died down for a minute, but now I think it's coming back. I think, you know, people are really getting excited. Again, Conor's still making things interesting going in the boxing world and coming back to MMA.
They said, or Dana White said a couple days ago he was going to fight this year.
Yep.
I don't know who. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. But I heard that too, and I was pretty excited about that. So that'll be a huge pay-per-view. But, you know, I know boxing is trying to come back, but I think MMA has just captured that audience, and it won't be going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I agree. It's just too exciting to watch.
And now the women's game is just as exciting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this past week.
What's her name? Nunez. She is a freak.
Yeah.
She's a freak, dude. And watching her beat Cyborg was one thing, but Holly Holm, I didn't get to see that fight, but I saw the highlights.
Yeah, I watched it.
That was vicious, dude. That kick was vicious.
Oh, man. And she is very talented. She said that she wanted to knock out Holly Holmes that way because that's how Holly Holmes typically knocks out her opponents.
Yeah.
And she did it. Like, that was impressive. That was, again, as impressive as any men's fight I've ever seen. So I think the women's game is coming up strong. Obviously, the men game, it hasn't gone anywhere. So it's only going to get better, I think. Had a couple buddies in the gym just over those first few weeks. It's kind of like, hey, like, why don't you do a show, man? Why don't you try to compete in a bodybuilding show? And for the longest, and I've heard this in the past, and it was just kind of like, no, like, oh man, that's stupid. Like, just stand up on stage and strike some pose, like, so somebody can judge me. Like, when I lift, it's for a purpose. Like, I'm lifting, you know, to play football, to score a touchdown. Yeah. That was always my mentality. But my buddy just kept like egging, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe you got a point. Like, and again, I'm somebody who's always looking for a challenge, always looking for the next thrill.
Something to chase.
Yeah, something to chase, and that helps me. Having a goal helps me stay in condition. It helps me, you know, work as hard as I work. So I was like, you know what? All right, cool. I'll set a goal to get on stage. and hopefully this will motivate me to stay in this gym and do what I got to do. So that's what I did. I picked the show and was like, hey, I'm gonna go for it, and I started bodybuilding, and then I fell in love with it, man.
Did you have a coach for your first show, or?
I did not.
Really?
No. Yeah, no. It may be a very naive decision, or just being in personal training and in the training and fitness world for so long, I was just like, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
As far as, I know how to diet, I know how to lift weights, like, I got this. It was kind of my thought process.
So how many shows have you done?
I've done 6 shows now.
Okay, because like my thing is like eventually I do want to step on stage, and I agree. Like knowing what I know I can get lean, diet down. I guess where I would really need a coach is that like peak week.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of things that should be manipulated.
Right.
Like, did you have any struggles with that, or did you learn anything from doing it on your own that first time?
I did. Oh man, I'm still learning. Like, there's a lot to learn. And I recently did my last show. I got my first coach, first full on coach. My last show that I did this year. Yes, you learn a lot. I did have a buddy who competed once before. He did one show, so he's a trainer too. So I would go to him, when I could, to get some lifting in. We would lift together, and then he kind of guided me through some steps to do for peak week. And then I just read up on it a lot too. At the time, I was reading a lot from Lane Norton. Okay. You can find his stuff on bodybuilding.com about how to go through a peak week and this and that. So I just took a little bit from here and there from a couple different people, and I placed second in my first show, I'd say I placed second in the novice category, which again for me I thought was good. The guy who beat me, he had been doing it for years. You can clearly tell he's been doing it for years. And then in the open class, I had some problems with my tanning. I looked like a black zebra by that time, because I sweat so much that there's black streaks just running down my body.
Yeah.
So guys that I had even beaten novice beat me in the open category because I just looked so terrible then. But again, there's one thing that I learned there, get the right tanning, solution, the right. But yeah, there's a ton that I learned through trial and error, those first few shows by myself, and then even more that I learned from having a coach this time. I think at some point it's just kind of like, even as a trainer, it's hard to train yourself in aspects like that, especially when it comes to dieting and looking at yourself in the mirror. It's like, you always are second guessing yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Where it's nice to sometimes just have somebody who knows what they're doing and tells you what to do.
Yeah.
Because when you're that fatigued and that tired, when it comes down to peak week, you don't want to do the thinking. You don't want to figure out the macros. I just wanted somebody to be like, Jesse, this is what you need to do it.
Yeah.
And I do it. And
you got to trust them too.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of trust in having a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This last show though, you qualified. Like, I don't know too much about the different organizations or division bodybuilding, right?
Yep.
You do bodybuilding. What was the last show? Because it was a qualifier, right? Like, so.
Yeah. So prior to this last show, step back, I was competing in a natural federation here, and I'm still currently an IPE pro. So I was a pro in the natural world, and I did classic physique the last 2 years with that. And this year I went to NPC, which NPC and IFBB, NPC is basically the organization that all the big guys start out at in, right? If you want to make it to Olympia, you want to compete with the guys that like Arnold did, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronnie Coleman, all of those big names, like those guys came up through this federation, right? Once you become a pro, you are an IFBB pro. They're one and the same, NPC, IFBB.
Okay.
So this year I competed in that federation, and I did men's open bodybuilding for the first time. So that was super interesting. I took second at the show. I qualified for a national show, and basically at the national show you compete to become a pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Was that different than the other organizations?
Yeah, it is different. It is definitely different. It's it's definitely bigger. There's no question about that. There's more sponsors. There's more people in the crowd. It's just it's more competition. It's more competition, and you see it all around. You know, it's a lot of competitors. All of them are in great shape. You know they're going to step on stage and they're going to give you a run for your money. So you got to bring your A game at this for sure.
Yeah. So if you could go back though, like I feel like we might have been in similar situations when you first decided to compete. Because like for myself, and there's a lot of other people out there, I've been lifting bodybuilding style for quite some years and hypertrophy training. I have a good foundation of muscle. What would I have to do to set myself up for the best success if I were to compete? Like if you could go back to yourself or at least give me advice now, how do I go about choosing an organization? Should I hire a coach? What should I do with my training? What division do I compete in? How do I figure out those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, all right, is this just going to be a hobby, or do I want to make something of it? Do I want a career in it? Or not, maybe even not a career. Do I want to make it like an excessive hobby where I can earn some money?
Yeah.
You know, once you figure that out, then that'll help you out. And then the second question behind that is, do I want to be natural? Am I willing to make the sacrifices to hang with the other guys who aren't, right? Because that's really what sets the natural federations apart from the other ones. There's, you know, you're going to be on stage with guys who are juicing. The likelihood of you beating them isn't very likely, right? Unless you're just a genetic freak. You know, my very first show, I was all natural. I competed in NPC, and I placed second, as I'm just mentioning. So I did well. Was I going to beat the guy who beat me? He was doing it for years, and I'm more than positive he was juicing. There was no way I was going to beat him. So you'll just have that. You can do well. I'm not saying you can't do well as a natural, but you got to be realistic. At some point, there's going to come a quality of level that you just can't reach as a natural competitor. So if you plan on staying natural your whole time through, then you should look at the natural federations. That's number one, because you can be competitive and you want to win. Everybody wants to win and do well. And you can make money there too, or the sponsorship possibilities won't be as large and the money won't be as large, but it's still a good atmosphere that, if you just enjoy the sport and you love doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
When it comes to whether you get a coach or not, I would encourage anybody who can afford it to get a coach. If you can, why not? Because there's a lot of things when it comes to peak week and when it comes to the actual diet that the average Joe you're not gonna know. You're not gonna know a lot of the tricks of the trade, which sound ridiculous. As a fitness guy myself, like, would you believe me if I told you, like, the night before, I would encourage you to go eat a double cheeseburger or 2 double cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
And psychologically, you're thinking, well, for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been dieting on chicken and rice. Now you want me to go eat 2 cheeseburgers and fries?
Yeah.
Like, I would have never done that myself. I didn't do that my first show because I was just like, that sounds
crazy, contradicting.
Sounds crazy. Yeah, that sounds crazy. But it actually works, right? It helps dry you out and tighten you up. It helps fill your glycogen stores, this and that. So there is, a method to the madness, but a lot of people just wouldn't know if you're doing it yourself. Even if you've been personal training. I was personal training for years before I did my first show, but I had no idea like what that was all about.
Yeah.
Or there's, other methods of like drinking 5 ounces of wine.
I've heard of that too. Like for even people doing photo shoots, I know some models have done it before.
It can help one relax you when you're stressed out. That's very bad for your body as far as drying out and retaining water and things like that. It's very bad for you. So one, having a drink after you haven't had one for months and months is gonna relax you a little bit. It's gonna get in your system, but then it's gonna dry you out as well. And people, again, they wouldn't understand that. They wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you should learn from a good coach if you have one. Again, you can do a lot of reading on it and you can experiment yourself if you're willing to do that. But if you want to be successful your first time around, you probably should get a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are you, what's your next plans for the sport?
So my plans now are to put on a little bit more size, work on my symmetry, and next year around the same time, probably in July, hit a national show. I'm thinking there's typically I think it's the USAs that are hosted in Vegas that I'll probably do. There's 4 national shows throughout the year, one in Vegas, one in New Jersey, I believe, Miami.
There's always shows going on, aren't there? Like, there's a lot.
Oh yeah, there's shows always going on. There's only a handful or so pro qualifier shows throughout the year, though. So
makes sense.
My goal is to become an IFBB pro. I want to be a pro. I think again, it's just I always want to compete with the best. I always have had that competitive spirit, and to call myself a professional, at that level too, would make me proud. I feel like I accomplished something. So that's my goal, and I want to do it right. So I don't want to just rush into it. Like, I could probably run and do a show at the end of this year, but I want to make sure I'm ready for it and that I can really compete with those guys. So I'll probably take another year to bulk up and hit the stage right.
Well, if there's any sport that is a sport of patience, it has to be bodybuilding.
It is.
It's just like, because once you get to a point like you where you're pretty advanced, the gains have to be pretty like small increments.
Yeah.
And you got to spend time in the off season bringing up those muscle groups. So it's not an instant gratification sport. You know what I mean? Like something like fighting would be, or along those lines. So I don't think it's for everyone, but I know there's a lot of people out there who just want to try it. So I think that's interesting insight, because I'll definitely need you to help me out one day when I step on stage. I want to switch back gears one more time. Sure. Because once you got into bodybuilding, all that happened. How old were you then? Because this was after MMA, after you fractured your foot.
Yeah. So about 4 years ago. So 28.
28, and that's when you decided to leave Enterprise and start building up your personal training business, to go all in with that again, right?
It was shortly after that. I was still with Enterprise when I did my first show. And then, again, just that passion of getting back into bodybuilding and getting back into the gym. And that led me to start training again. And then that manifested into me like, okay, I want to really make this legit this time. And I created my LLC and, started working on just creating this business. And by then I was ready to shortly after to leave out. So about 3 years ago is when I left Enterprise.
Okay. So now, because I know there's a lot of people who follow me who are always asking me questions regarding like entrepreneurship, starting your own business. So now I feel like we're getting into that entrepreneurship mindset.
Yeah.
And it's so scary just to be like, all right, I'm gonna do this, no going back. And how old were your kids at this time?
Oh, so I got 4 kids. So, man, I'll let you guys do the math. My oldest is 13. So she was 10. My twins are 8, right? So they were 5, and my youngest is 6. So he was about 2 years old.
Wow. So that's when you left Enterprise?
That's when I left Enterprise.
So if you don't mind sharing, can you explain to us, how did you build up the business? Because like, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of responsibility at that age to be like, all right, I'm going to do this. Luckily, you had past experience. You had all the training certifications. You worked for Athletic Republic, and that was good background. But it's nothing like going out and being like, all right, I'm going to brand myself, Dose Athletics, your brand, and run with it. So how did you scramble to make it happen?
I'll be completely honest with you, man. The stars just kind of aligned together.
Yeah, happens a lot. But explain, tell us how it happened.
I was truly blessed. As I mentioned, I was already training a few people on the side. Because again, that passion came back. I honestly was like sick and tired of working with Enterprise. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I was making really good money, and I worked with some good people. But I worked with some other people who just drove me crazy. And I had no real passion behind what I was doing. I was just doing it to get a paycheck. And every month I was working on trying to get a bigger paycheck. That was just that was my passion at the time when I worked there. But other than that, what I was actually doing, I did not care about.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was training some individuals. Then a really good buddy of mine, his name is Marcus Walker. He runs Grindhouse Basketball, which is really big here in the town, really big nationally now. I mean, he has a huge following, but a lot of his athletes that would come to him for skills training started coming to me for speed and agility training or strength training. So that was kind of a natural like progression for his athletes to come and see me, which helped a lot. When I told him I was ready to get back into it, he was like, all right, cool, I got you, bro. So, you know, he would tell his folks like, hey, you come and train with me. Like, this is just going to be like college. Like, you have a athletic trainer, at college. You're going to have a conditioning coach at college. You're going to have a basketball coach. You come and see me for basketball. You go see him for, speed and agility. So that's that really helped get my feet wet and get me ramped up and started. So once I started doing that and just posting on social media what I could do and what I was going to do, I had a free open house. I did a couple free trainings to let people come in and test it out, let the kids come in and see what they can do. That helped a lot. And then the other thing was just I've always been an athlete, and Kansas City is where I'm from. So, once people knew that I was getting back into this world, man, I couldn't believe how many people reached out to me via social media, Facebook, Instagram, like, hey, like, are you training again? Like, can I get a session in? Like, can I start working with you? This and that, blah, blah, blah. And, at the time, I had always just been doing speed and agility training, but in order to, again, finance what I was doing and take care of my family, I kind of opened that realm up and started working with individuals who wanted to lose weight or just get in better shape, actually became more fond of that than I thought I ever would. It became kind of really cool to help just mom and pop lose weight and get in better shape and feel better about life. Like, that makes me feel good, you know what I mean? Like, I'm really accomplished. Yeah, exactly.
A lot more fulfilling.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, for years, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to stick with the athletes because it's what I know, it's what I like. Didn't think I would have any interest in it. Thought it was just maybe too slow, this and that, but I actually love it. Yeah.
Cool. So how did you end up here? At that point, where were you training all these clients?
I started here. I started here. So before I even officially launched my company, I was training a few people out of here. I would also go to different locations. I would go to them, or we would go to the park or things like that. Especially with my athletes, we would train outside and do some stuff like that. So this gym was run by Brad and Jen, who own Bodies, and my wife worked with them. So I would come here and train myself. And then, I would bring a couple buddies in, this and that, and I ended up talking to them about training here as a trainer. And they didn't really have any aspirations to bring on another trainer to what they had going, but they wanted to help and see me succeed. So they were like, hey, you can train out of here, no big deal. Like, we'll figure something out. We'll have you, pay rent eventually. We'll figure it out. So I slowly just kind of worked my way up and built my business up here. With the grace of them. And so now, things are 360, now I own the gym and now other people are renting space out of here. So it's really, it's been a lot in the last 3 years.
Talk about stars aligning. This is where I think me and Jesse crossed over in how we met, because I experienced the same exact thing. So what's crazy though is it seems like a little bit of luck when the stars align, but at the same time, because of everything you've done in the past, that's the only reason you had those networking connections. True. And everything you've done in the past is hard work.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs' stories, you hear them. Yes, everyone's story happens different. Everyone's stars align different. Everyone knows someone who might have helped them get in, but there's so much prior things that happened that even got that opportunity to present itself. So in January, literally 6-7 months ago, I was going to my last semester in college. I kind of had not a midlife, but a last semester crisis.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad telling me he knew I wanted to not go in the corporate world. He knew I was kind of doing AMP athletics, posting stuff on social media, and he set me up with a plan, a schedule. He's like, well, if you really want to see if this is going to work and make enough money to support yourself, how about you create a schedule for yourself while you're at school and treat this like a real business with my online training and all stuff along those lines. So I started doing that, took it more serious. You got to understand though, at that point I was thinking, my mindset was I had 4 months and a week, which is how long the semester was, to literally make something happen.
Yeah.
So I did not have to go get a corporate job. Because if nothing happened that happened to me, I don't know what I would be doing.
Right.
So 2 months later, because I was consistent, I was getting more clientele, more income off online training, but the stars aligned for me. I got introduced to Serve Nutrition through a buddy. I was just mentioned to a buddy that I should meet these guys. I kept putting it off. In a class project in my school for one of my classes, which was like innovation, sustainability, and quality, we were given a project that I guess our professor reached out to local businesses, or they reached out to him, and they stated their top 3 problems that they needed consulting with. So it was kind of like an innovation consulting class. And I saw Serve Nutrition on the board, and we had groups of 5, and I was my group's leader, so we had to choose one before anyone else did. And I raised my hand right when I saw Serve Nutrition. I was like, okay, what the heck? That's really weird. Because it was like a week ago that I was told to contact these dudes.
Yeah.
So then, that's how I met those dudes. Went out to Kansas City, met them. I'm in with them pretty tight. I think that's a great opportunity in the future. A couple weeks later, my dad, so Thomas, one of the, prior owners to this gym who worked with Jesse, is my cousin. And we see him every so often, at family events. But my dad saw him, talked to him, and he mentioned that there was like change in ownership, all this stuff, and they were looking to bring on trainers. And I was like, wow, this could be something cool too. And the location-wise is perfect for me. So came out, met with Thomas. I met Jesse and Chris eventually. It was just kind of a good timing situation. A lot of people were leaving, their new trainers coming in. And it was, for myself, it was a great opportunity, like a gym to fill. Because it's hard as a personal trainer, especially if you want to create content. You're not going to be able to do what we're doing right now if you try to go to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a turf, the nice facility we do, and be able to do the things we do. So when I sit back and think about it, it's like, wow, it is crazy how in January, had no idea what I was going to do, thought that it was just going to be a very rough ride.
Yeah.
And 3 months later, it was like the stars aligned, and I saw the future clearly. But it's still, as an entrepreneur, I think this, like, and I want you to explain this too, because I think to myself, right now, I'm getting some traction, getting some business, I'm working long hours, and I think to myself, man, like, this is awesome. I'm young, I have energy, I want to do this for 15 years, but at what point am I like, damn, I don't know if I can be on my feet all day doing this.
Right.
And I'm too young to even say that, but like, have you ever thought to yourself that, like,
oh yeah, no, it's it's gonna happen sooner or later. Hopefully it's later, but it does happen to every trainer. And as a trainer, as a successful trainer, you got to be able to put in the time. You got to be able to grind. I think you're starting to feel that just those 6 a.m. classes that you started taking on for us, man. It gets harder and harder. Like, and as you get older, it's not some more that you lose passion for what it is you're doing. It's just the time that you're spending doing it. It's like all day long. So as an entrepreneur in this world, and now, how things are progressing, a lot is done through social media and via just the internet and the computer. So I think, for me, it was like, what else can I be doing? What other ways of revenue streams can I make where I don't have to spend so many hours on the floor? I can still want to train because I enjoy it and I'm passionate about it, but there's other things I want to do. So again, owning a gym is one aspect of it. There's a lot and a lot of responsibility, but like I said, you can just be an online trainer and make really good money nowadays. So that's another part of it, But yeah, it's gonna happen. So I think, my encouragement to any trainer out there, especially yourself, is start to figure out other ways that you can generate revenue. Start to build a team. Start to build, maybe a funnel of people that you can train and teach them how to train, and they can, make money for you while you're doing it. There's a lot of things you can do in this industry. But if you just think that I'm a personal trainer all my life and this will be it, trust me, at some point you're going to hit a wall and you're going to get burnt out.
And how do you, like, people get scared of becoming a trainer because they think, all right, the income is going to be like this, which a lot of times it is. Yeah. It is, but how do you get people to commit to long periods of time? Or how do you make your income steady with your training business itself?
So it's not one that can necessarily be steady. Like, it is going to be like this, right? Because it's just the season. It's like people fall off, one. But the other thing is you have these lulls in certain parts of the year, right? During the summer, believe it or not, kind of dips down, right? There's a lot of people, as we know, January 1, they have New Year's resolutions. So you're going to see a spike in business. You're going to have people DMing you, people coming to the gym who are ready, who think they're eager to get it. And then 3 months later, that group is going to kind of fall off. And then you'll see who your steady soldiers are. And they're going to go and ride it out through the summer, right? Trying to get beach buys, trying to get ready to go on vacation, this and that. Then they go on vacation. So now your clientele dips down again.
Yeah.
And then again, once the winter comes, it's going to pick back up a little bit. In January, it's going to spike up and then go down. So you just got to know that this is going to happen. So one, you got to be financially smart with your money, right? You got to know that in the summertime, I'm probably not going to make as much as I am in January. So whatever I'm making in January, February, March, I better hold on to a little bit more of it to let it, spread throughout the summer.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess other ways of doing it is focus more of your attention in the summertime to doing online training or doing other things, fitness related, selling supplements or whatever it may be, that can supplement that income.
Yeah, so, and that takes a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. We're going to definitely do a podcast just talking about that because I seriously, you could have a lot of experience and that's something I'm trying to do. That would be a great one. So please let us know if you want to do just a business, entrepreneurial, personal training type podcast episode. I got 3 questions I want to fire at you. We'll end it off with this. 3 pieces of advice, 3 things you want to say. So first one is, what does it take to be a successful trainer, and how, if someone's considering it, how do you make them flip the switch to be able to just turn it on and do it?
I think the biggest thing you have to do or have is a passion for it, a spark, a good fiery personality. You can be technically smart. There's plenty of trainers that I know who they know the books, right? They scored very high on all the tests, but they don't have the personality. They don't get along with people. They don't understand what people are trying to achieve or what they don't want or what they do want. And they just, I think the other thing behind that is the experience, right? If you've been in the trenches, if you've lost a ton of weight, if you've been an athlete, again, I know some guys who they took the test, they like fitness, they thought they could be good at it, but they don't have the passion behind it, and they never been in any of their clients' footsteps, really. Yeah. So it makes it hard for them to succeed.
Makes a ton of sense. It's a lot of self-auditing, too. You got to know, you got to be self-aware, too. Yeah. A lot of people lack that self-awareness. I think that's important. Secondly, what kind of client are you looking for right now for yourself? Why should someone hire you as their trainer?
I'm looking for a client who is ready to make a change, and whatever it may be. If you want to get bigger, you want to get faster, you want to lose weight, you want to become a bodybuilder, I like to work with individuals who know that this is what they want. It really saddens me when I get clients who fall off because I know that I can help them. And hopefully they do find somebody that they can really click with or relate to. Or again, it could just be a time and place. Like I said, there's people who come in for New Year's resolutions who think they're all about it, but they're not really all about it. So I love to help people get to their goal. So anybody who's driven and ready to rock and roll, come see me, man. I love it.
Cool. Lastly, Dose Athletics, plug it, tell them what it's about briefly, and then tell us where you want to take it in the next 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dose Athletics, man, is a company that I started and founded. It's all about performance, whatever it may be, speed and agility, whether strength training, bodybuilding, or you just want to, again, reach your goals of losing weight or getting in shape. That's what I want. I want to help you guys reach your maximum goal. So for me, it's all about it's just that. If I help you, you'll help me, right? If I help all of my clients succeed, I'll succeed. So Dose Athletics is just an extension of all the other fitness things, endeavors that I have. My gym, Active Strength Company, I want to see both of them grow and be madly successful. I'm looking to add on more trainers to Dose Athletics and looking to really get Active Strength, this gym, rocking and rolling. So, and again, in the next 5 years, hopefully I can find some great trainers like yourself to help me take this thing to the next level, take it to a national level. We'll recognize it's hey, if you want to get stronger, you want to get faster, you want to do anything fitness related, come see Jesse, come see Dose Athletics.
Cool. Yeah. What's your Instagram?
Instagram. So you can catch me personally at Jesse Jewell on Instagram. The business Dose Athletics is Dose_Athletics, DOSE_Athletics.
Facebook, YouTube, any other plugs?
Yeah, Facebook. Again, you can catch me at Jesse Jewell, Jesse Thomas on Facebook. That's where I usually do most of my stuff there. And then also the YouTube channel, it's up, but it's about to get really live. That's Jesse Jewell as well. YouTube channel, man. Please check me out. I'm gonna have a lot of great content coming up here, talking about getting the first season, my yacht trip that I'm going on. I'm gonna show you guys how to cut weight, how exactly I do it, what I eat, how I condition, how I lift weights to get where I want to be.
Cool. I see this dude every day, so this is not going to be the last time he's on here. And if anything, I think we have a 10,000 calorie challenge coming up.
Oh, we do. Yes,
so
yes.
that will be interesting. But if you watched all the way to this point, I greatly appreciate it. Share this podcast with your friends. Subscribe. You can catch us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, Google Play. Just search Austin Pace AMPlify Podcast. Leave this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah,
Thank you,
appreciate it, bro.